This segment of Delmarva Life is brought to you by Peninsula Regional Medical Center.
Okay, so let me ask you this. If this has ever happened to you, you sit in the doctor's office, you're waiting for what seems like hours. Finally, time comes back to go back to talk to the doctor, and all of a sudden, the appointment's over with.
Yeah, you walk out and kick yourself because you just remembered something else you wanted to discuss with the doc. How about we work on making those visits more productive? Delmarva Life Sydney Whitfield shares a few ideas.
Your doctor is probably the most important person to talk to about your health. But how do the conversations between you and your doc stack up?
There's some times where I feel like they might seem a little rushed and they don't always listen to everything that I have to say. Or if they do, they're just like, oh yeah, here you go, here's a prescription. My doctor's my mom. So.
To improve communication, ask your provider to use plain language. If you don't understand something, say so. Also, repeat back what you heard to make sure you and your doc are on the same page. A good question to ask is, what's the best and worst case scenario when it comes to my condition? Be honest with your doctor. Voice any worries or fears. Also, prioritize your concerns. Ask about the most important ones first. Take notes at your appointment or see if it's okay to tape record the visit. Another tip, ask to speak to someone who's undergone the same surgery or treatment you'll receive. And if you feel rushed, don't be afraid to request another appointment. After all, you are paying for the services.
And it's also a good idea to tell your doctor how you learn best. For example, if you're a visual learner, he or she may be able to provide you with materials to read at home so you can better understand your condition.
Makes sense. But then there's those topics that you would like to discuss with your doctor, but you just can't bring yourself to ask him or her. Well, that's where PRMC's Dr. Chris Snyder, who's the Chief Informatics Officer and Hospitalist, might be able to help you. He's here to answer some of the questions that you submitted while you remain anonymous. Thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you.
Okay, so first, let us get your take on the story that we just shared. What should I, as a patient, do if I'm not really sure I understood what you, the doctor, just told me?
Simply ask if you don't understand. You know, I usually like bringing friends along too, so I see families who engage, especially elderly folks. Bringing along a daughter is wonderful. The daughters have great skills with asking us questions, and they're usually very organized and come with tools, which is great. Bring a notebook, bring your cell phone. We use our computer constantly to remind us about you, because I see thousands of people a year, so it's very difficult to keep that straight. So you have to be organized with your questioning. Do an outline of what you want to ask. Health literacy is a huge problem in the U.S., huge problem, nationwide, actually internationally too. And just understanding or interpreting what I'm trying to explain to you, because what I do is pretty complex. I mean, we kind of go to school for a few years to learn it. So in being able to interpret that from us, first of all, docs aren't real good at that in most cases because we're usually used to talking to each other in a different language. So it's a different language. So it's very difficult. So ask if you don't understand something, write it down. I get folks pop out their cell phone all the time in the emergency room and we'll record, and I'm good with that. So you just have to ask permission.
Yeah.
Don't do it behind the scenes.
Makes perfect sense. So I'll be honest though, sometimes I feel like you've got things to do, you got people to see, you got places to go. I don't want to take up more of your time. Even if I am paying for it, the appointment's not really rushed, is it?
No, you know, the patient's our priority, clearly. We all have schedules in the background. We all have children, families at home, drive us to move things along quicker, maybe speed a little bit more than we're supposed to. So, you know, again, I think everybody's in a hurry, but one of the things I know one of my trainers said, you know, sit down with your patients, might be 5 minutes, make it feel like it's 15. So whatever you have to do to establish that, that's kind of a skill that hopefully most providers have developed. But the more subspecialized you'll find, the more they're not going to do that. You really need to engage a primary care doctor. We have a big shortage here. Family docs, nurse practitioners, PAs can help you explain those issues and try to help interpret some of the things. That's what I spent a lot of hot time at the hospital doing, is interpreting what the cardiologist or heart surgeon wants to do, maybe in a little lower down terms. So.
All right. Good to know. All right, so let's get to some of our questions. What do you say? All right, the first question is, I have these lumps under my skin, on my legs and arms. If you run your fingers up and down my skin, you can feel them, and it hurts to press on them. I have been to so many doctors and say it's nothing. Could this be a buildup of candida?
So candida is one of the causes. Candida is basically a fungus, so you can have infections that cause it. Could be lymph nodes, could be abscesses. There's a whole variety of stuff it could be. Docs palpating it and feeling it will be able to hopefully describe what it feels like to themselves. With our experience, most of the time we can drive you down the right road of labs or diagnostics, and then eventually we may even recommend a biopsy if they're persistent over a period of time. Could it be candida? Absolutely, but that's one of the many things it could be. So.
Okay. All right, next question. Green smoothies seem to be all the rage right now, but I often find many people load them with fruit. Is the sugar from all of the fruit negating the health benefits of the smoothie?
Yeah, green doesn't always mean great. Lisa's wearing green, so that looks wonderful. But you know, green is a vegetable. Mom said eat your greens, so I don't know what that comes from, but there's a lot of good in those things. But too much fruit blended down can really be a high sugar load. So you might as well make it a candy bar in some cases. So especially if you add in all the extra ice creams and some of the other sugar products in there. So making sure you have a good quantity of that. I don't think they're bad for you in moderation, just like everything else.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of fruits, what are your thoughts on organic fruit versus non-organic fruit?
There's actually been some studies around this because I've always been kind of a fan of the organic. Nutritionally, there's really no difference. Absolutely none. So when you eat fruit, a peach is a peach, so the nutrition's in there. I think some of the safety issues with pesticides, toxicities, and they actually did some scientific studies showing there was a little bit of a higher incidence with the non-organic, but you're paying a pretty strong penny for that organic label. So I don't think there's any good evidence, and I think there's a lot of research being done around this. But again, I think some of it is marketing too. So I would just kind of yield to the fact that the current studies say that there's really no nutritional benefit to eating organic. If you like it, go for it. If you can afford it, great.
That's awesome. Okay. This is not my question, but I do relate to it. As I get older, I seem to notice more spots on my skin. Is there something I can do to prevent them?
Yeah, the most visual ones are typically our face. Yeah, stay out of the sun. Put sunblock on your kids so they don't have it when they're older. There's a lot of reasons why you get spotty as you get older. Your skin is protecting yourself from the environment, and the skin's the largest organ in the body, so you really have to protect it. Again, using protective things, the sun's probably #1 for changing your skin, and it basically burns your skin, and then your skin creates the darkness to reflect the skin, to reflect the sun, excuse me. Gotcha. So there are some challenges with that, but early intervention with your children, treat your children right, make sure they don't burn at all. A lot of us burned when we were younger because we didn't have the good science around topical protectants.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of the skin, any safe way to remove a skin tag myself?
No, don't do that.
Don't do it.
Yeah, don't do it. Infection, scarring, there are certain techniques. We have instruments that we utilize to remove skin tags. Plus it can be somewhat painful depending on the size and location. Skin tags are there because of friction usually, so you see them on the neck, under the arms, in the groin area. So anywhere skin rubs on skin or clothing may rub. And then genetically you tend to have skin tags. So if mom and dad had skin tags, you're going to have skin tags. We can remove them fairly quickly in the office with just even sometimes non-injection. Sometimes we'll just snip them off. But we use a special type of scissors that has a reduced amount of scar.
Very interesting.